Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Northsiders Podcast. I'm Dan Maha, and today we're going to talk about the Chicago Cubs and their chances to make an impact in the 2020 season. Well, the Cubs, a team that many think have a chance to do some real damage in the NL Central. It's that time of the year again here in Phoenix, and the Cubbies are back in Mesa. Today we're going to talk about some offseason accusations and some possible trade opportunities for the Cubs come midseason and the trade deadline. Well, let's start off with Kipnis. The Cubbies got him 2 weeks ago on a minor league deal, and I feel like he can do a real impact for the Cubs this year. He's a good bat to have in the lineup. He's a hometown kid, Glenbrook North High School, Chicago area. And, he's got a 261 lifetime. He can get you there when you need him. He can get a base hit. He can score a run. He can hit a sac fly. And he can play a pretty good second base on top of it. Another player I like to talk about is David Bodie. He seems like a sleeper for the Cubs coming into the season. Last season, he had a fantastic year, hitting just above 260. But he has showed up, and he's been clutch. He hit a walk-off grand slam last season. And, it wasn't just then. Throughout the season, he showed with his above 260 average and on-base percentage that he can be a big league player and he can hang at Wrigley Field. Moving on, Mike Napoli. Seems like a pretty familiar name, but now he's a coach, the new quality assurance coach for the Cubs. And what the Cubs explain that title to be is basically the guy who kind of just roams around and helps the players with anything they need to be helped with. He could be working with the outfielders. He could be throwing picks to first baseman. He could be helping catchers with their blocks and their frames. And he could be helping third basemen with their backhands. He could just be the guy who is always there to help. The Cubs kind of described him as their Swiss Army knife, especially in the clubhouse. He's got that experience. He's got 3 World Series appearances, 2 with the Rangers, and a ring with the Red Sox back in 2013. I really think he's going to help David Ross this year. I think he's going to be one of the keys to help David Ross morph into the manager that he wants to be. Moving on to free agency, Kris Bryant, we all know, is probably going to get traded this offseason, sadly for Cubs fans. But where? Most eyes leaning down south to Atlanta, as they just got rid of their third baseman in Josh Donaldson. He went up to Minnesota with that trade, and so they're without a third baseman. Could be a really good accusation for the Braves. But what the Cubs would really want and what the Cubs fans would really enjoy is a trade with the Rockies. Straight up Nolan Arenado, Kris Bryant. It would be a great deal for both teams. Probably a better one for the Cubs, to be honest. But I would like to hang on to Kris Bryant. He's still nearing his prime. This year is probably the start of his prime. But I feel like if he stays, which probably won't happen, I think he would be a great franchise player for the Cubs. And another key trade that happened last season, Craig Kimbrell. This year, his first full season with the Cubs, ending the season pretty horrifically last year, 6.53 ERA, 0-4, and 13 saves in the second half of the season. Did not do too well. But this year, he's going to have to be that anchor in the bullpen for the Cubs. They really need a guy who can come in, night out, and shut them down for the starters who pitched out the whole game. And to the starters, Yu Darvish is really going to have to show up for the Cubs this year. He's their ace. First year in a long time where Lester hasn't been the ace of his team and hasn't been the ace of the Cubs. But he's getting old, and they're going to have to really adapt to the situation at hand here. They still got Hendricks, still got Quintana, Lester, and their ace Yu Darvish. But where's that fifth starter at? They really got to find that guy who can, come in and pitch the fifth game and get a win. He doesn't have to get 20 wins, doesn't have to get 20 Ks. He's just got to get the job done. Well, that should do it here on the Northsiders podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.